Welcome to the Frontier Forward Asia edition. I'm thrilled to bring you this special series where we spotlight incredible leaders, bold ideas, breakthrough innovations, and collaborative spirit that drives transformation in this dynamic region. Let's create and lead the AI frontier together. Hi, Tracey, and welcome. It's so wonderful to have you here with us today. Could you take the opportunity to briefly introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. I'd love to, Heather. And thanks for having me. And thanks to everyone out there as well. It's great to see you all. My name is Tracey Kennair, and I have the pleasure of being the Microsoft Alliance Leader for both Australia and Asia. So I've been with PwC for 21 years now, which makes me feel rather old. But I just love being at the forefront of technology. And I just think what an exciting agentic AI era we're in. And I've always been passionate about helping clients leverage technology. And I just think that the capabilities that Microsoft brings to the table just means that there's so much more we can do. And it's just such an exciting time.
Fantastic. And in that exciting time, can you share a little bit with us around what does PwC do and which markets do you serve?
PwC is one of the world's leading professional services firms. So we started our journey 175 years ago with a handful of accountants. And now our firm looks so amazingly different. We have technologists and engineers at the heart of our advisory business. And we have 390,000 employees now. And they're combined with a fairly significant and growing scrum of AI agents that we use to service our clients. So we work across all sorts of sizes of organisations, and we play across all sorts of industries. From an Asia perspective, and our Microsoft Alliance, we very much focus from an financial services, telco, retail, consumer, healthcare, and public sector as well.
175 years and 390,000 employees plus agents. That's incredible. Could you perhaps share with us a recent story that's really impactful, which was a win between, Microsoft and yourselves?
When I think about our alliance across Asia, one of our standout territories is in India, and we've had significant growth in that space, which is fantastic. And we've worked with one of the leading financial institutions in India. And to give you a sense of the size of that organisation, they do hundreds of thousands of transactions on their mobile technology. So they're an internet-led, mobile-led banking institution, and then they have all sorts of other industries and companies within that group. And they were really keen to think about how they better service their customers. And for that is where we leaned on Microsoft to really help us think about how we generate for them a 360 view of the customer. And to do that, it wasn't just about a simple CRM. It was about how do we actually take Copilot and take agents to really help think about how we're automating the services. And so to that, it was both the inbound services and the outbound. So from a contact center perspective, where there's a huge amount of growth and leverage of agentic AI, we were able to leverage Microsoft services there to really provide a first call resolution to those customers calling in. And then when it came to their lenders being out on the roads and going and visiting customers, it was giving them real-time information as to the customers that they were going to go and see. And so underpinning all of that has been a significant data strategy to think about how do you best manage your data and how do you get your insights from your data. And the thing that made Microsoft stand out as part of this huge engagement was the fact that the users were able to use the interfaces that they were so used to from a Microsoft perspective. So we talk about Microsoft very much being the UI to the AI. There was a significant amount of change in their processes and helping them disrupt the way they were doing business. But for the users, there was comfort in knowing that they were leveraging those interfaces that they were familiar with to really be able to better serve the customers. And of course, the bottom line impacts of that were significant for that organisation. So the efficiencies that it drove and how it improved actually the customer service that they could deliver.
What a fantastic example. Thank you. Let's talk a little bit about the other side. Could you perhaps share with us a challenge that you may have faced with a customer, and how did you overcome it with a Microsoft solution?
It makes me think of some work that we were doing with one of Australia's leading supermarkets. And they were really keen to work through a data migration. They wanted to really help modernise their data environment. And they came to us asking, look, how do we make this happen? And I think the key challenge was there was a want and a desire, but when you place that together from a business case perspective and go, look, do we really have the funding to do this? Then that was a real challenge for them. And so what we actually did was we thought, well, how do we do this differently with Microsoft? Microsoft's got all these amazing tools, and how do we leverage the Microsoft agents to actually think about driving some of the automation in the data migration? And so we developed a number of agents to actually help with the delivery lifecycle from the design all the way through to the implementation. And it was because of the capabilities of Microsoft that we were able to think differently. So we pulled up GitHub Copilot, and we thought about how do we actually enable this to happen. So this challenge that we had of a client really wanting to do something, but really being cost prohibitive following the traditional approaches meant that we were able to leverage the automation and the capabilities of Microsoft to actually get that project done. And I think sometimes they're the catalysts that you need to actually drive change. You need to have a challenge or something that you need to work through to make that happen. And it was through this that we were able to leverage Microsoft to do it.
Another fantastic example. So as you think about the two scenarios that you painted, perhaps could you share some of the best practices or advice that you might have in your experience in working with Microsoft?
For me, there's probably three things that come to mind. I think the first is to focus on the upskilling of your people. The extent and the speed of change is amazing. What the technology can do is amazing, but it's pretty scary too. There's so much coming at us. And so how do you give your people comfort as to what you can actually achieve with AI? What we've found is it's really important to find those change agents. And often they're at the lower levels within the business, and you need to give them the tools and let them at it, basically. You need to give them some guardrails. You need to put the governance around your AI. And so Agentic 365 is Agent 365 is a real opportunity where organizations can think about, well, how do we control all our agents, and how do we orchestrate and govern over the top of all of that? But you then need to let them loose and give them the permission to innovate. And it's absolutely amazing what can happen. We've done that ourselves. We are a frontier firm ourselves. We utilize Microsoft significantly to be disrupting our own business. And we have a huge number of change agents that we've upskilled, and you look at what they bring to the table to think about, well, how can we do business better? And so putting the technology and the power of the innovators is one of those key best practices. The second, I think, is when you are thinking about automation, to go to where the value is. And we're finding more and more that organizations are not just wanting to automate their current processes, but they really need to think about disruption, and they need to think about, well, how do we do this completely differently? How do we think about the ecosystem that we operate in and all the players within that ecosystem? And we're starting to really think about what are the key decisions that are needed to be made within a process where you do need human in the loop, but how can you bring them forward and then leave it to the AI agents to actually continue with the processing, manage the workflows, et cetera, et cetera. So I think best practice is not just about just doing what you're doing faster. What you've really got to do is you've got to simplify what you're doing. You've got to ask yourself, what can agentic AI take away for us and make us able to concentrate on the key decisions that we need to be successful and grow our organisation and our business. And probably the third best practice that I would highlight is the advantage of partnership, where we see we're able to deliver the best for our clients and Microsoft customers is when we come together early. So when do we actually sit down together with the client, with Microsoft, with PwC to think about what is it that we're wanting to achieve and how do we actually deliver value? And when we team together, invariably that's where we get to the best outcomes. So I think partnering early always ends up as a better outcome for everyone.
Well, thanks, Tracey. So perhaps in closing, what's one thing you would like to leave the audience with?
The one thing that I would love to leave the audience with is just to encourage your own curiosity. Curiosity is where we can really innovate. And sometimes it's really hard to find the time to actually go in and explore and to learn. But I encourage everyone to take that time and really drive curiosity, to really think about what the art of the possible is.
Fantastic. Well, Tracey, thank you for your time. It's been absolutely fantastic to have you here with us today.
Thanks, Heather. I've loved being here.